Read right now from Senate Majority Whip John Thune. Senator, do you think this is a big deal that the president was appearing to have intervened in a Justice Department inquiry?
Well, I think in the end, a judge is going to decide this, Neil. This is a legal process, and let a judge come to the conclusion about what the sentence ought to be.
So I apologize for that brief hit we had. Senator, a lot of this occurs right after all the political developments where the wind was at the president's back. He won handily in New Hampshire yesterday. That was expected, not nearly by the margin he ultimately won. The economy's going his way, market's going his way, Dow, S&P, NASDAQ, all at records today. And something like this develops that Democrats are jumping on. Should they be jumping on it?
I think the Democrats are always looking for something to pounce on with the president. But it's really hard for them, and I'm sure they're frustrated because for all the reasons you just mentioned, when you've seen now 23 consecutive months where the unemployment rate has been at or below 4%. We've had 18 straight months now where year-over-year wage growth is above 3%. Since the president was elected, there have been 7 million jobs created. So the economy is humming, and it's a lot to do with the policies that the president, working with Republicans in Congress, have put in place, and that's tax reform and regulatory policies and energy policy, trade policy, and we want to build on that foundation, and so does the president. But the Democrats, at least for the moment, seem like they haven't given up on the attacks. We just came through an impeachment process where, in a very partisan way, they send impeachment articles over to the Senate where we heard the case and concluded that they hadn't made the case, and so we acquitted the president. But that's not going to stop the attacks from the Democrats, and that's pretty clear from the most recent round.
Do you think intentionally or not, sir, that the president just gave them more ammunition or more suspicions that he intervened or had his Justice Department intervene to sort of lower these guidelines that they had set out for what would be an acceptable time for Roger Stone to serve in prison, that he should have just had a hands-off policy?
My preference would always be to just let the legal process work its way through. And I think that again, in the end, that's what will happen here. You're going to have a judge that's ultimately going to, render a verdict when it comes to a sentence. But I do think that I would like to see the president, of course, focus on the things that he's done and is doing currently to continue to build upon the growth we've seen in the economy, what's happening out there in terms of jobs. Continue to work on infrastructure, for example, drug pricing. There are a lot of things out there that I think we can do that will keep that momentum moving forward and continue to create the conditions that are favorable to economic growth and higher wages and better paying jobs. And I think that's what the American people want to hear us focused on. So, anytime we can get the president talking about not only his accomplishments but his agenda, that's a much better place in my view to be. But obviously he is, I think, very frustrated and rightly so in many cases at what the Democrats continue to throw at him. They are not satisfied. They certainly are frustrated, I think, because of the success that he's had and haven't liked him from the very beginning.
Well, that might be happening. And at your point, I mean, the president might have legitimate reasons to express concern about the prison time a judge might be considering or would consider for Roger Stone. Some of it liken what he has done and what he has said online about this judge, Amy Berman Jackson, who, as you indicated, sir, is free to make whatever she thinks is an appropriate sentence, regardless of pressure or lack thereof, but that he was intimidating her. Do you interpret his actions as intimidating her?
Look, I think that's obviously going to be a matter of perception. That is clearly the case the Democrats are going to make. I think the president weighs in, as we all know, on a whole range of subjects on a daily basis. And I think that he was simply speaking what he saw, his mind on this. And I think, again, in the end, the legal process ought to work. That's why we have a court system in this country, and ultimately a judge is going to decide this within parameters, of course, that are in place. But in my view, it's not, I guess, uncommon for this president, as he has on so many other issues, to weigh in and to speak his mind. But again, my hope would be that as we move forward, that we focus on his agenda, on the positive things that he wants to accomplish for the American people, and to build upon the record of success that he's already put in place.
It's an impressive record in the economy and the markets, as you've reminded me, Senator, and I don't want to belabor this any more than I have to, outside of saying that I had guests on my show last night when Fox Business was covering the election results, which if you don't get, Senator, you should demand. But I digress. One of the things that was said by one guest, the only person who can defeat Donald Trump is Donald Trump. And developments like these and the firing of folks and the dismissal of folks who had harsh words to say about him and figured him for things that the president denies and says it was wrong to do. And then this development just adds fuel to the fire that the president created. Do you buy that?
I think that the president has a terrific record to run on, and I believe when he runs on it, when he communicates that to the American people, he's going to have a very compelling narrative about why he ought to be given a second four-year term. I do think it's important for him to talk about that, sometimes not to dwell on other things, and obviously he has taken, and I think anybody would, many of the unfair attacks that have been made against him personally. But I think the best thing for him to do is to rise above that and to just keep moving America forward and continue to put policies in place that are going to improve the lives, the everyday lives of Americans in this country. If he does that, he's going to win in a landslide, and that's what I hope he would pivot and do, particularly coming out of this most recent impeachment process, which again, I think the American people were very frustrated by, which is why the president has enjoyed the numbers that he has. Certainly from a political standpoint, it has been a winner for him, but it's a loser for the American people when their leaders are distracted with something like what we went through here with impeachment. And I think they're ready to turn the page and move forward, and I hope that the president and Republicans in Congress, and hopefully some Democrats, will work with us to get some good things done for this country.
That sounds like a very polite, gentlemanly way of kindly advising the president to be quiet.
Well, we do what we can, Neil.
Senator, thank you very much.